What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We're here on another Friday Live with you guys. Today's topic is going to be all about masculine frame, what it means to hold your masculine frame, because a lot of people have a misconception about what that means. A lot of guys out there, especially dating coaches and stuff too, are going to tell you it's all about getting girls, but that's really not what it is. It's really a lot deeper than that. It's really about like who you are as a person, holding your boundaries, being dominating with who you are. And that doesn't mean dominating other people. It really just means standing up for your values, standing up for yourself, and being all about who you are and not letting anybody else walk all over you.
Right.
I'm Case, obviously, here with my good friend Jared.
Hey guys, Jared Schoonmaker. Hope everyone's going to have an amazing weekend. And we just did a video on this one, right? We launched it, I think, Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's you'll find the link below.
Yeah, and then the video was geared more towards younger people, but it's also good for older men to look at it as well and just kind of digest a little bit and see if you're doing any of these type of things, because your frame actually starts, good or bad, when you're young. This is how you develop it. This is, men are made. They're not just born. And so through trials and tribulations, through all the bullshit that we have to go through, if we're not learning from it and adjusting and kind of implementing what worked, what didn't into our frame, we're just feathers in the wind. We're just sort of like we go with the flow. And it seems like a lot of older men too are having this problem where they don't really know. They might have a career, they might have a family, they might have a wife.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. And they let people dictate to them who they are.
Right.
Or even worse, they let their wife dictate the tempo of the relationship. And they have it backwards. And so your frame starts all this from the very beginning, whether it's relationships with your boss, your friends, your wife, your girlfriend, your LTR. Who you are as a person basically is what you've created your frame to be. So if you're a wishy-washy guy, if you're a guy who has what I call black and white or gray thinking, nothing's black and white to them. They're like, they can agree with you just to go along with you. That's not a strong frame.
Right.
Whatever you believe in may be wrong, but as long as you believe it,
right,
that's your frame. That's your reality. The things that I believe, I don't tell guys or women, you have to believe what I believe, but I'm convicted in what I believe. And so I'm not going to change it for fucking nobody. That's who I am. And then they can at least respect that. They can at least respect, like, all right, I'm not going to change this guy's mind. It's far worse being a man where your mind, your thoughts, your ideas can change just because a woman thinks it's something different. Like, oh, I agree with that too. You have no frame. You have no boundaries. You have no set structure in your life. You'll just do whatever it is, or you'll say whatever it is to get what you want.
Well, just like you said, it's wishy-washy. Like, you don't have any of your own values. You don't have any of your own boundaries, any of your own beliefs. If somebody tells you something that's counter to what you said, oh yeah, well, I see that. And yeah, you're not standing up for yourself. You don't know how to stand up for your values. You don't know how to hold that frame. And women don't feel safe or secure around that. So obviously they don't respect you if you don't respect yourself. You don't push out your boundaries and stuff like that too. If bosses or even clients, if you're an entrepreneur, like if they start to see that they can step over your boundaries, they're going to keep stepping over your boundaries. This is why women shit test you, just to see if you're willing to hold your frame, if you're willing to stand up to them. Because if you're not willing to stand up to them, you're not willing to stand up for yourself. You're not willing to stand up for your family or anything like that too. Like, I mean, one big thing is, like, this goes back to ancient times, right? When tribes used to be invaded by other tribes, and people come into your tribe, these other men come into your tribe, and they're here to take your women, they're here to take your kids, they're here to enslave you, slaughter the men, whatever it is. Like, there's no turning back and being like, oh, well, like, I'm just going to go find a new family. I'm not going to stand up for this stuff. And so that's really what it is. in its essence. And that's why it's kind of ingrained into us. Because, I mean, if somebody's kind of hitting on your girlfriend or something like that, like, dude, you got to stand up for that. Mm-hmm. If your girlfriend's out there trying to do something with another man and stuff too, like, you got to stand up for yourself, your boundaries, who you are. You got to push that out there. She doesn't respect you for some reason, and that's usually down to what it is.
Right. Oh yeah. It's total loss of respect. And like you said in the beginning, it might be a test, and if you fail the test, bet your ass she will shit test you more to see if it was a one-time thing or she found a weakness. And bet your ass a woman's really good at finding a weakness, and she'll keep pushing it until you wither away into this whiny little bitch, and she's like, game's over. So what happens? So having a strong frame doesn't mean being a dickhead, doesn't mean if your girlfriend has a better idea or has thought of something that maybe you didn't, doesn't mean you can't say, you know what, I never thought about that. That's not it. It's your core values. It's knowing, listen, you will not post bikini shots of you online when you're with me. You're on my brand new. If you do, just expect me to block you and expect me to never talk to you again. And if she does it and you don't do that, you've just lost. Now, you hope your girlfriend doesn't play that stupid test game with somebody who has a strong frame, because she's just lost. But most guys will be like, well, don't do it again. Or, you know what? I don't want you to have your guy friends around you. There's no reason.
Right.
You know, we hear this all the time. Oh, men and women can be friends. Fuck, they can. No, they can't. You should only be friends with your father, your brothers, your cousins, and your boyfriend or your husband. No reason why you need to have other men friends. And if that's part of your frame, if that's part of who you are, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go out with a bunch of the guys, you don't check that. Again, you might have faulty frame. You might think it's correct. She might think, I've known these guys all my life. Doesn't matter. If you're with me, this is how it works. And if she does go with them, it just tells you she valued them more than she valued you.
Well, so that's part of your values. Like, that's the thing too, is even if you don't want her hanging out with other men, that's part of your values. And if she goes against your values, you have to protect those values. That's part of your boundaries. If you don't want her hanging out with other men, regardless of whether you think that's okay or not, it doesn't matter. Maybe you think it's fine if she has other men friends. Like, fine, that's part of your values. Nobody's going to tell you what your values are. But at the end of the day, if it's part of your values that she shouldn't hang out with other men, men set the rules. That's just what it is. That's part of masculine frame. You set the rules. If she doesn't follow your rules, she doesn't get to be in your life. There has to be consequences for those things, because if it is in your value system that she shouldn't hang out with other men, she shouldn't be posting these pictures online, she shouldn't be out there being so risque and flirty, then absolutely, she doesn't belong in your life. You got to let her go. You got to have that abundance mindset in that case. Right.
Absolutely. And that's just one part of it. That's just relationships. But there's your framework in your boss, framework in your friends. Even there's frame in just your day-to-day activities. All develops you into, you know, part of my frame is on a 7-day work week, I'm at the gym at least 5 days. That's my frame. Now, have there been weeks where I been so busy and so tired I couldn't go? Absolutely. But I fall back into, all right, fat ass, I need to get back into this. But that's part of my frame. So if I'm big into, say, fitness, and my girlfriend was, but she's not anymore, it's still my job, even in that, to say, hey, Chunky, let's come back to the gym. You don't need to eat that. Still, because at the end of the day, they don't get to allow to do whatever they want. If they know this is the deal, if they know I value my fitness, I value my health, I value this, and obviously you were attracted to them because they value the same thing, and then they fell off track, it's your job to bring them back in. They'll love you a lot more for it if you check them. Because the alternative is, oh, well, I don't want her to get mad at me. And then she gets really big, and then you go cheat on her. Mm-hmm. It happens. It happens way more
It does.
All it had to do was a very quick conversation. Who cares if she got pissed? Like, look, you're getting a little big. We need to fix this. It's a problem. Likewise, my girlfriend better check my ass. If I'm getting big, she better be like, listen, buddy, you looked a lot different a year ago. You better get back to the gym because I'm losing respect and I'm not even wanting to have sex with you. They better do the same thing to you. They better do it.
Well, don't be a pushover. That's the biggest thing too. You can't be a pushover. That's like Rich Cooper talks about, like death by 1,000 concessions.
Yeah,
the more you concede on your values, the more you don't stand up for your boundaries, the more they're going to walk all over them. It's not just her either. Like you're talking your boss, your clients, your friends, your family. Everybody's going to walk all over you if you don't assert yourself and know what your values are. You need to know what you stand for. You need to sit down and outline what those values are. That's part of our program. That's one of the first things we do in this program is sit down and outline what your values are. Because if you don't know what you stand for, you'll fall for anything. Right. You'll sit there and concede. You don't even know exactly what you're even trying to be confident about. And so that's the big thing too, is when you know what your values are, without a doubt, you're going to have a lot more confidence to be able to step into whatever situation that you need to, because you know that's what you stand for and you know that's what you're going to stand up for too. And that's everybody starts to know you for that. They start to respect you for that too. And when you don't stand for anything, people don't respect you. Like your girlfriend's not going to respect you. Your wife's not going to respect you. They're not going to respect your boundaries. But if they know that you're going to assert yourself and what your values are because you always stand up for the same things, then people start to have a lot more respect for you and you start to have a lot more confidence around it. Because we do have to be open to whatever situation comes our way. We can't control the outward. We can't control anything out in the world. We can't control anything that comes our way. We can't control whether some bouncer's sitting here hitting on our girlfriend. It's going to happen. And if it happens, you got to be ready to step up. You got to be ready to handle that situation, because that's a problem. Obviously, if somebody breaks into your house and decides that they want to violate your wife, obviously that's an extreme example, but you got to be ready to protect it. You got to be ready to stand up for your house, your values, your wife, your family. You're the protector.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And everything falls on the man. If this channel doesn't teach anybody anything, everything's the man's fault. If your wife cheats on you, it's your fault. If this happens, it's your fault. You have to take full responsibility, full ownership in everything in your realm, everything. And it all revolves around, first, the 5 pillars, what I call 5 pillars of masculinity. And inside of those 5 pillars, if you develop them, you develop your frame.
Right.
So this framework, when I say it's a picture, it's this rigid structure that these are your core values, these are your beliefs. Whether your beliefs, again, it doesn't matter if your girlfriend or your boss or whatever doesn't hold the same beliefs, but bet your ass they're going to respect your beliefs.
Right.
That's the whole point, not bending to the will and say, well, you know what? I can see your point. Fuck no, I can't see your point. Your point's stupid. Your point makes no sense. This is my point. Right. And, back to the thing where, and your woman can have a different frame. That's fine. As long as there's, respect there, that's fine. But if you're the leader in the relationship, we're talking specific about relationships, or you're the husband and you're the leader, it's your frame she better fall into. She doesn't fall into your frame, you have worse problems. Right. She has to buy into you. You're not buying into her. I always tell the girls that I'm coaching is, they always tell me the same buzzwords on why. First thing is why they can't find a man. And yet then when I say explain yourself, they're explaining a man. I'm assertive. I'm a boss bitch. Make my own money out of this. I'm like, you just described a man. This is why men, when you say, they're intimidated by you, no, they're turned off by you because you just described a man. We want somebody who's soft, yielding, who can cook, who can clean, who's your supporter. They're not your team member. They're your supporter. They support you. And again, you support them, but it's all part of the frame. It's all part. And things I'm saying, sure, we're probably going to get, you're a misogynist asshole. Great. Perfect. Great. I don't care. But at the end of the day, women, I always tell the same women, you have to sell what we're buying. You're freaking selling what you think we're buying. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying another man. You just described a man. I want this. Oh, well, then that's a weak woman. No, it's not. That's exactly what I want. So it's hard. It's, I'm about to drop a long form post in the Facebook and on our school thing about dating and all this, but it all falls around frame. It all falls around you're your own island. You're supposed to be your own island. Us as men, it's great that your woman knows how to cook, but fuck, you should know how to cook too. It's great that she can clean better than you, but you should be able to clean up. Woman does not want another son. Mm-hmm. That's the point. And when you have a strong frame and you've done the work and you're mentally strong, you're physically strong, you can take care of yourself, you can take care of situations, you know how to fix basic stuff, or you can at least figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, at least you know who to call, who's not going to screw you over because you know a little bit about it. It's all part of framework, and it all starts when you're young. And sadly, here's where we're at right now in society. Look at the people running this country. None of them have frame. No. They had frame. They'd stop this nonsense, this mental illness going on where I'm a guy, but now I'm a girl, or I'm a girl, now I'm a guy. It's all mental illness. It's all. I have no problem with people being gay, no problem with gay marriage. If you all want to be miserable like regular married people, that's great. Perfect. But when you get into this weird kind of stuff, that's part of, for me, no, it's a hard no. I'll love you. I'll respect your decision. You're not going to force it down my throat. It's going to be a hard no. All part of frame.
Well, it's just like you mentioned before. I think even just a few weeks ago, you talked about how it's really not the fact that is the problem. I don't care what you do. It has nothing to do with me. I don't care what you do. You do whatever you want with your own life. It's your need for me to accept it that is the problem. Right. And that goes against my values. That goes against your values. That's really what it is. I don't need to accept you, and you don't need me to accept you.
Right.
We have nothing to do with each other.
And I'll still love you. I'll still love you for the person you are, but you will not enter my frame and dictate to me that I have to now do something that does not fit my mold. Again, it's just standing up for yourself. It's having that belief in who you are and being okay with it. You know how many people tell me I'm an asshole? Do you know how many people tell me I'm a misogynist prick? And I say, thank you. I appreciate it. Equally, do you know how many people message me, say, thank you so much? Women and men say, you have done so much for me in this situation. I say the same thing. Thank you very much. Either way, don't care. I care, but I'm like, that's great. I'm just giving you my opinions. I'm giving you what my reality is based off my life, what I've lived through, what I know. That's my frame. That's it. And to be a 48-year-old man, it takes time. You're not going to have if you're a young man watching this, you're not going to have a strong frame because you're still trying to figure out who you are. You're still trying to define yourself, and that's okay. But one of the things you need to do is what parts of you that you are, stick to those, and then work on the other parts. So a lot of times when guys and women, they go to college, this is a funny little statistic. It's a little odd, but when mostly guys and girls go to college, for whatever reason, they turn freaking liberal. Why is that?
Right.
Because they're so impressionable at that age, and they see all these older guys and older girls, and they're dressed like freaking Quakers, and none of them shave and all this, and they start talking about subjective realities, and they start putting this impression on these younger people. Well, this is what's happening in elementary school now. We're not even giving these kids a chance to figure out who they are.
Right.
When we were younger, we didn't have any of this crap. We didn't have social media. We were able to develop our frames a little bit different, a little bit more concrete based on the people around us, our family, maybe our church if we went to, our friends. We all shared kind of the same frame because we all had the same kind of interests.
Well, and kids copy everything. That's the thing, is they copy their parents, they copy their dads, they copy their moms, they copy
Yeah.
their grandparents. Like if there's not a strong male figure in the house to teach you
They're going to copy
what
the
a
mom.
masculine frame looks like, yeah, they're going to start copying mom. They're going to start to learn masculinity and what it means to be a man from their mother, somebody who really has no business teaching them those things. And so that's the biggest problem in society today, is like really just the lack of the male figures that should be around when they're younger. Like I said, I mean, most boys learn how to treat their women based on how their fathers treated their mothers. Right. And so that's really, I mean, if you don't have a strong male figure, it doesn't have to be your dad. It could be your grandpa. It could be an uncle. It could be a big brother even. As long as there's somebody in your life who is holding that masculine frame who can teach that stuff to you. Otherwise, you're really impressionable to the other stuff. And that's the biggest thing too, is understanding like all these kids that go to college and they get into those liberal values and stuff too. Like a lot of that comes from the fact that their parents didn't have strong frames when they were growing up too. And so they're really impressionable when they get to be that age, because kids who do have that strong male figure around when they're younger, they're not going to go to college and come out of that a liberal. There's just no way. They know what it means to stand up for themselves and their values. And the biggest thing too is don't censor yourself. Yeah. Say what you mean and mean what you say. And so that's the thing too, is everybody's going to try and censor you. Everybody's going to try and tell you that you're a misogynist. They're going to tell you what your frame is to you. They're going to tell you that your values are wrong and everything. So that's the thing too, is like liberals, obviously Democrats, they're going to think that Republicans are wrong. Right. People who are religious, they're going to think that people who aren't religious are wrong. Really, it comes down to your beliefs and your values, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you can't tell somebody else whether they're right or wrong, or whether they should or shouldn't accept something. And so that means just don't censor yourself. Don't let other people censor you. Don't let society censor you, and stand up for yourself and stand up for your beliefs.
Right. Yeah. But the other part of that statistic, which is funny, is all the way up until the senior year, I think it's something like 46% of kids are liberal until they get their first paycheck. And then they're like, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't fair. Man. And then they start falling back into what the real world is and what the real realities are that the professors forgot to tell them. And I'm not knocking professors. I'm not knocking, but they do live in their own subjective realities. They don't live in objective truth. None of them.
It's true.
And so when they're dumping on these kids on what should be or what the perfect utopia is, it can't exist only because we all have biases. You can't have a perfect utopia if everybody's bias is different.
Well, the thing is, too, is you can't protect what you believe in and your values if you start buying into somebody else's.
Right.
And so that's a big problem.
You become fake. If nothing else, you become fake. You're not your authentic self. You don't really understand who you are. And this is why I say men are made. This takes years. I've never met a young man, in his 20s, that's rock solid. He might have I know like 3 young guys in their 20s that probably produce about $100,000 a month on their online companies.
Right.
So money-wise, yes, they're very good at that. But the rest of their life, they're still playing video. I talk to them all the time. A couple of them are my partners in another business. Mm-hmm. They love playing paintball, child shit. They love, traveling. That's great. But at least they're trying to figure out themselves, and they figured out one key area. How do I make money? Because that part they figured out, and they're able to use that money, those resources, to go to, and none of them went to college, to go to different gurus, if you want to call it, or go to get different coaching, and they're starting to get more well-rounded. But they're very young. They're very impressionable still. And so it takes time. The only people that I've actually found, honestly, that have very or fairly strong frames are the guys and girls have gone in the military.
Right.
Not all of them, not all, but a large proportion have learned that they might have gone away. Maybe they went to war. Maybe they went to a conflict. Maybe they didn't. But they saw other parts of the world, and they actually saw how other people lived. And they maybe went to a third world country, and they saw kids actually working and not playing video games. They actually saw, the moms, half naked, they just don't have any money. They don't have clothes. They actually saw that. And then it tends to just shock your core. Like, wait a minute, I've been lied to.
It does.
And it does wake you up forever. That part does wake you up. So I've always told guys, young men, was in the video, if you're really not sure what you need to do in life, go in the military. It's one of the best things you can do just to get out of your hometown, just to get out of your situation. Spend 4 years away from mom's tit. Go. Get away.
They'll teach you how to be self-sufficient. That's what they do. That's the thing too. After living in Mexico for 3 years, even for me, like I've seen that with the class disparity and all that stuff too. It's like people live entirely different lives. They do entirely different things. And the U.S. and the media in the U.S. has built up this big picture of what things should be in society and what's right in the world and that stuff too. And it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Everything they say is bullshit. It really is. Once you get out of there, you start to realize that stuff. And then you start to realize that like, oh man, there's a whole world outside of the U.S. and they're just kind of living in their own bubble.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like it's kind of like akin to the Ogogi, right? With the Spartans, like they're going to tear you down and rebuild you into the person that you need to be self-sufficient.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a great, if you're a young man, it's a great outlet. If you just don't know and you maybe you're not like me, I wasn't that smart. I mean, at that time, I didn't think I was that smart. Let's put it that way. I'm going to change my language. And I didn't want to go to college. So I went in the military. And it did wake me up to a lot of things. Now, when I got out, I was completely different when I came back to Syracuse. And, the girl I dated in high school, I ended up marrying her. I was so much further ahead than the 26-year-old friends that I had. So much further ahead. And so it does tend to mature you a lot in some ways. And then you can have some other problems too, but it is a tool that most men use or could use to maybe help them level themselves up in situations where maybe they just don't know how to. So it is a good tool to, at least if you're watching this, young man, at least look into it. You don't have to sign up. Look into it. See what it has to offer you. Take your ASVABs. See what score you make and see what jobs are available to you and get out of your situation.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. For sure. I went through that whole process. Yeah.
I'm going to let you just talk for a minute. Somebody's at my door. I'm at the hotel. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Go ahead. Like he's absolutely right about that. That's something that I actually experienced when I tried to actually go into the military too. Like I had some extenuating circumstances that kind of kept me from going, but I went through the whole process, the whole indoctrination process. I went through the whole boot camp, all that stuff too, and ultimately ended up in a general discharge. But inevitably I joined because I wanted to see the world. I didn't really care about going to college and stuff at that point. What I really wanted was to have that foundation. I had a lot of friends and stuff who went to the military. I had a lot of family who went into the military, and I respected them. They just commanded this certain aura and respect from everybody around them. Like everybody looked to them as leaders, and that's what I really wanted to be. I mean, obviously, I grew up without a dad. I know what that's like. I grew up with a lot of, beta males and stuff around me too. But there were masculine men in my life who I did look up to. And those are the people that I really listened to, and all of them told me, like, you got to go to the military. You got to let them deconstruct you and reconstruct you into a better person. And like I said, those are people that I really respected. I really respected their opinions. I really respected their confidence and their leadership and how everybody kind of looked at them to be the leaders when we went to community events all the time. And those guys were always the first ones to step up. They just knew what to do. They put everybody to work. And they just knew how to do it. And that's one thing that inspired me when I went into business too. It's like, you just step up, be the leader. You do this, you do this, you do this. Let's get it done. And it's not like being controlling or anything like that. Like, it's not about control. It's like you want to dominate the whole situation, but it's not about controlling people. It's not about controlling what they believe or what they do or anything like that either. It's really just being that person that they can look to for answers, because everybody's always looking to somebody for answers when they don't have them. They're always looking around to people. What's this person doing? How are these guys doing this? They're always looking for answers from somebody else, and they want to follow somebody who has the answers. And so you'll be the guy who's confident and able to step up and have those answers in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's just an idea. It's just something for maybe if younger people are watching this, or if you're an older person who has a son who maybe you're just a little worried about that you just don't know how to help him.
Right.
At least be open to the possibility of doing the military service. Um, it's not the military in the U.S. is definitely not the U.S. when I was going through it. It's vastly different,
Right.
but it's still our country. It's still a worthwhile endeavor to go into. It's honorable, and it's just something that if my son, who's 19, he's pretty much on his own path. He kind of knows what he wants to do, but if he didn't, I would tell him you should look into the military.
Right.
So, but back to frame, because even though the military is just one aspect of it, I often tell when I was talking to my son, he watches my videos, and a lot of his friends um, watch them as well, and they're always at the house, and which is great because a lot of times, like I'm traveling a lot, but when I'm home, my son likes to be around me. We do go to the gym often, not as much as we used to, but his friends come by and they'll be like, "Oh my God, Mr. Schoonmaker, I watched your video about this. It was crazy. My dad doesn't talk about these types of things." And so, I'm piggybacking a little bit on what you said. If finding, whether it's through positive videos or through an elder, talking about these things and asking questions, even my video guy Nate, he's 23 or 24, I don't remember.
Right.
He's watching our videos, he's creating them, and he's
Well,
like,
my brother
I've
watches them
learned
too.
more. Yeah, I said, I've learned more from you. I love my father, but I've learned more from you on certain situations than my father. He just doesn't talk about them. And so sometimes you need somebody who's kind of a stranger who can shed some light on these things. And you
Yes.
got to, you have to find somebody who is looking out for your best interest, not some of these red pill coaches just shoot down women, or the black pills, or the incels. It's not that.
Exactly.
It's
Incel.
about,
Love it.
it's about doing, I kind of look at it like, I correlate this to a video game. If you talk to young people, I don't play video games. I have no idea. The last video game played was probably Pac-Man back in the 80s. I never got into them. I never understood them. But if you ask a young man to create an avatar of the perfect person, and maybe you're using Call of Duty, maybe you're using one of these other games, what are they going to do? I want somebody who's muscular, somebody who
Right.
is tall, somebody who you get to create this avatar. You get to create your own avatar, and inside that avatar is your frame. It's who you are. So if you have a part of you that you don't like, you get to pull it out of that box, out of that frame, and replace it with something better, a newer version of yourself.
100%.
If you're constantly talking bad about yourself, or you constantly have the thought of I'm not good with women, that's part of your frame. Your framework, your software is I suck with women. That's
Well, I
not
think
helping
it's
you.
too.
It's not your helping your position at all. So you need
Right.
to pull that out. You need to change your language. I suck at business. I suck at this. I'm not good with this. If you're an emotional bitch all the time and all you do is vomit out feministic emotional stuff, that's all you're telling the world. This is my frame. I'm emotional. I'm an emotional person.
And usually those people haven't sat down to establish what their boundaries are, to establish what their values are. Like at the very least, man, like you've got to go to the gym. Like you've got to go to the gym. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody out there has to go to the gym, but you got to feel like you're somebody who can stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
And you got to feel like you're somebody who can stand up for their family and the people around them.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go to the gym and build yourself up and get big. I mean, or at least go learn MMA, man. Go learn a fighting style. Go learn something that's going to make you feel like you're in control. that's going to make you feel like you can stand up for yourself, because that's part of it. And at the same time, like I said, really just first thing that you should do is sit down and establish exactly what those values are. Like, I believe in God, or I believe in business. I believe in making your own money. I believe in, whatever it is, just write it all down, make a manifesto for yourself and say that this is my character. This is the character of my game. This is the character that I am in my movie or whatever. And that's exactly what are all the characteristics of that character. I mean, just sit down and look at the characteristics of other people. Like, what are the characteristics of Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day from Terminator and stuff too? Like, obviously he's a big guy. He's a guy who stands up for himself. Yeah. You got to kind of look at those things and realize, okay, those are the values that I want to embody, and what do I need to do to make sure that I embody those values and stand up for them?
Yeah. Yeah. And look at when we talk about frame, it's not necessarily centered around the idea of your traditional masculinity. I'm going to give you an example. One of my coaches, his first name's Frank, very successful business, very successful. He's pretty local to me right now in the Raleigh area. And he's helped me out tremendously in the online space of personalized, what we call performance coaching or life coaching.
Right.
He's a gay man. He has a very strong frame about him. He just happens to like guys, but he doesn't ever hit on me. He doesn't ever throw his, idealisms onto me. He just knows who he is and he owns it. That's frame. Know who you are and own it and be unapologetically you. Another really good friend of mine, we're going to do some podcasts with him. He's a black man. He's bisexual. And he has a pretty large podcast community where he's put together. Looking at him, he dresses kind of feminine. But he's very masculine in the sense of he knows who he is. And he's the one who even told me, he goes, this guy girl shit, he goes, us as gay men, us as the gay community, we don't believe in this crap. This is something thrown down our throats. And you're talking about, men dressing as women, say I'm a woman now. He doesn't even believe in this.
Right.
He has a very strong frame. So his frame is him. Your frame doesn't have to be my frame. It doesn't have to be Chase's frame. It doesn't have to be what you think society wants. If you are a gay man, that's your frame, and just own it and don't apologize for it. If you're maybe even a more softer, maybe you are in touch with your feminine more, then have a strong frame about it. Build a frame around it and don't apologize. Sure. We're not saying be like me. I'm fairly avoid of most emotions. It's just the way I am, but I don't apologize for it. I don't be like, oh my God, I don't know why I don't. Fuck that. This is the way I am.
Doesn't bother you. Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. And if it bothers somebody else, well, then they can leave. I don't care. It's just owning who you are and accepting what you are and loving who you are. That's your frame.
Right.
That's it. So maybe it's a better way of kind of not building it up to something as, oh my God, I got to be, Ronnie Coleman size. I got to fight like Bruce Lee. None of that stuff. It's just be authentically you. If you're a dick, be authentically a dick. Just own it. Fine. Mm-hmm. If you're a really happy-go person and everyone's kind of think you're kind of goofy, hey, if you love it, that's your frame, and just own it. It's not doing what society thinks or you doing what you think society wants you to be. It's who you are, and then just loving those parts of you and then building on those parts of you, because that's who you are. That's your frame. So your frame's different for everybody.
Truth.
And what we try to do here when I'm coaching a girl or a guy is to build that framework. What type of person are you? Do you love that type of person? No. Well, then we need to get rid of that person. We need to kill that person. Maybe you needed that person to survive in an environment. Maybe you went through a bad divorce. Maybe you went through a bad breakup. Maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend was narcissistic. Maybe you needed that version of yourself to survive, but you don't need that version of yourself anymore. So get rid of that get that person out of your framework and put
Right.
a new avatar in of a person you can grow with, of a person who you want to be. See, a lot of guys who go through divorce, and women, I use divorce a lot because that's one of my main coaching things is
Right.
they have to become a version of themselves, guys and girls, that they can survive in the marriage. They have to, or in a long-term relationship, if it's just this emotional void and maybe they're getting beat down physically or emotional, they have to become a version of themselves to survive, but that's not who they are. And when they get out of the relationship, they don't know who they are because they've created this version. And it's very scary for them to step out of that version and be like, who am I? It's very scary because you've lived as that avatar. Now we're creating a new frame. We're creating a new boundary around that person. So you can let go of this person. You can let go and say goodbye to the old version of you. Let's put in a new version, one that you can be proud of, one that you love, one that you can grow with, and one that you might even scared of, because the new version is so powerful, you don't even know how to get there, but you know you have to do something. So you won't even be scared of the future self.
Well, that's the problem too, is if you step out of one relationship, you're going to step into another relationship that's almost exactly the same. And so that's one big thing, is you got to do that work after you have stepped out of the relationship, after the divorce has ended. You've got to put some work in to make sure that you don't end up in exactly the same situation that you were in before, because they're just going to look for somebody else who's just like that other person you just left, and then you're going to end up in the same situation again, like, because you don't know who you are. You don't know exactly what your identity is, and like, you need to be self-assured. That's the biggest thing too, is not like, you don't need validation from other people. You don't need validation from the person that you used to be with. You don't need validation from your parents or society or friends or anybody else. Like, you just need to be self-assured yourself, and don't let anybody else dictate your life or who you are and tell you that you're wrong or right or whatever it is. Like, that's you. That's who you are, and that's what you stand up for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. There was probably about a year ago, maybe maybe less than that. I lose track of time like everybody.
It's wise, man.
But it's probably longer than that. But I started noticing my own self. It was actually probably about 2 years ago. Now that I think of it, I was coming out of a relationship, and if you want to call it that, but a situationship. And
Sure.
I knew who I was, but I kind of, I'll be the first to admit, I kind of stepped out of my frame to try to accommodate a situation that I had no control over.
Right.
And it took a while for me to kind of retool. And I went to a couple other coaches. I'm like, what the hell? This isn't like me. And, it just was what it was. And it took a while for me to even give myself permission to kind of forgive what I did to myself. Because I was actually doing myself a disservice on what I was doing in this relationship, not anyone else. Like, I knew better. But as time went by, of course, I started getting into other relationships, but they were short-lived because I didn't do the work. I was basically vomiting out externally as a coping mechanism for the past relationship. And so one of my coaches says, no dating for 90 days, no talking to women. You have a detox. Like, because I'm pretty good at dating. Like, I was really good at dating, really good at it. And so I lived, like, I kind of was like, shit, this is easy. Like, I don't understand why guys think this is so hard, but I had the tools. I kind of had the training. I understood it, but I had to kind of swallow that. I'm like, all right, this isn't healthy. This isn't me. So I did that 90 days, did not date. I think I slipped up like on day 86 or something like that, but I was pretty close. I'm like, fuck, this is close enough. But it took that long. So I had to kind of retool myself to figure out, okay, what are some of the things I will not do again? What are some of the things for me personally as a man that it's a hard no, it's a hard pass, not going to do it. And I had to get back to my baseline because as you know, you get more successful in business, you get more exposure, you get more opportunities. And that's a good and a bad thing. Yes. Are there women that like message you and stuff? Yes. But if your frame isn't solid enough and you recognize it's just what it is, if you have a weak frame, you're going to fall for all of it and start messaging them all. Oh my God, I got all these women. I did that for a while and I realized that's not me. That's not my frame. So I had to go back to that. I had to go back to my baseline. And, you know, we're getting off topic here, but it is something like I do fail, guys. I fail a lot, but I learn very quickly, fast. I'm like, okay, I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. I wouldn't tell my kid to spin plates and date 5 different girls. Number one, costs too much money. You're freaking talking to them all day long. They can't get anything done. Half of them don't shut the hell up. So, you know, got to refocus. But at the end of the day, it took a while. It took a while. So I had to get coaching myself. I literally paid $25,000 for one coach to help me with this. So I put up a lot of my own money to help me so that I can help you guys, because I've been through this before many a times. And so if you are struggling in this, if you need a framework on how to build frame, watch the video below. Number one, as a young man, even as an older man, it sounds basic, it sounds simple, but when you actually do the work, that's the hard part. Because most people, it sounds awesome until you do the work.
Right.
You know,
that's the thing too, is like it's hard to break old habits, to break old beliefs, especially when that stuff has been impressed on you by other people in society and stuff too. That's why it's good to get around people who are on the same mission as you, like who are actually trying to improve themselves and become this. Like, because even in our coaching, the first thing we tell everybody is that I can't tell you who you want to be. I can't tell you what you want to achieve. That's in you. That's in you. And a lot of people, like most everybody who comes in, has no idea. They have no idea who they are. They have no idea what they want to do. They have no idea what their frame even is or any of that stuff. And so that's the thing too, is we have frameworks and we have tools that can help you along the way. And we can provide accountability for you to make sure that you actually do what you said you're going to do, what you've committed to yourself. But at the end of the day, that's on you. Like, you commit to it. You say that you want to be this person. You said these are your values. And that's exactly what we try to do, is help you become who you want to be and help you just even identify who you want to be. Because like I said, most people that come in, they've got no idea. They don't know who they want to be. They don't know what their values are. They don't know what they want out of the world. They're just like, I just don't want to be here dealing with this as this person anymore. And so it's like, okay, well, first things first, the person that you are is the price for the person that you want to be. So you got to stop doing the shit that you're doing. You got to stop being this person who isn't achieving the things that you want to achieve. And that's really where the accountability comes in. Like, you told us this, you told us this, you set up these values. Let's make sure you get there, right? I need you to go do this. I need you to go do this. I need you to go do this. Because I can't tell you who you want to be. Like, that's all down to you.
Right. And that's the beauty of coaching. It's not, there's coaching and consulting. Chase and I do consulting for business. Of course, we're going to say, well, you need to do this, this, and this. If you want your, you know, you want to get SEO, you want to get a fantastic SEO, you need blog articles, you need backlinks, you need this, you need this. You got to do this. That's consulting. We're telling you what you need to do in order to achieve X. Coaching is when I talk to my clients, is what do you want to talk about today? What's coming up for you? And they're blown away. They're like, I think that I've always been having this issue with my boss. And that's our session. You're telling me what's coming up for you. And our coaching is centered around that. And I don't talk. I ask questions. You talk.
Right.
I'm not consulting you. I'm coaching you. You already know the answers. You know what needs to happen. But again, when we talk about our brains are really good at fucking with us, our brains are really good at just keeping baseline. Got to peel back that to realize, okay, we already know the answers. Our brains are just telling it, no, we don't. That's a lot of work. I'm not putting out that much energy for this. That's where the work begins. The coaching is just a discovery. It's just, I never thought about it this way. And then a light goes off in your head, and this is where consulting, and I like to tell about people about the difference, because when they call me, they want me to give them the answers. It's like, I can't give you the answers because I'm not you. I'm not you. And if I gave you the answers, then it's disingenuous. You're just parroting what I'm telling you to do. That's consulting.
But
and then, of course, there's therapy. And, like we talk about the difference between therapy and coaching. Therapy takes somebody from a dysfunctional state. God forbid, maybe they went through a rape. They're going through drug addiction, maybe alcoholism. They're dysfunctional in one area of their life. They need therapy to get them functional.
Right.
Coaching takes somebody functional to extreme, high functioning, whatever you want to call it. That's the difference. So when somebody comes to me and they need therapy, this is where I stop. This is where my ethics stop. Like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed. I don't have the tools. Can't help you, but I will find somebody, or at least get you in that right direction. Because a lot of people do need therapy in conjunction with coaching. But your primary person still is your therapist. They're the ones that are licensed. They're the ones that possibly can medicate you if you need it. Coaching is just getting you from a functional level to high functioning in whatever realms that you're kind of lacking in.
No, the thing is, I can help you get back on your feet. Like, if your leg is broken, I can't fix your leg. You got to go to the doctor. The doctor, he went to school for 8 years for that. I didn't go to school for that. I can help you dress it up. I can help you make sure that you got a bandage or something, but I can't fix your leg. Right. And so that's the thing too, is I can help you get back on your feet as a coach. And the biggest thing too, when it comes to consulting, like, would you go to the airport and just walk up to the counter and say, hey, give me a ticket to wherever? I don't know, just choose somewhere.
Right.
It's a good place to end up it's a good way to end up where you don't want to be, right? You don't know where you're going to end up, if you're going to even like being there. I can't tell you who you want to be. That's in you. That's for you to decide. I can't tell you where you want to go. Yeah. That's for you. That's the thing. It's like, we get so used to listening to the media, to listening to society, to listening to our parents and our pastors and all these other people in our lives. We get so used to seeking validation for those people. And that's the thing too, is like, when you're in a long-term relationship and you've been married for a lot of years, like, you seek validation for everything. Like, you're always asking your wife, hey, can you look at this? Can you check this? Can you tell me if this is okay? Should I do this? And at the end of the day, you've lost your frame. You completely lost your frame. You've completely lost who you are and your identity and all that stuff too. And this is what we deal with on a daily basis, is that identity loss, and how to really find that identity inside of you again. Because there's so many things, I'm sure, that pop up into your mind all the time. And then you just talk yourself out of it, or you push it down below the surface. Mm-hmm. That's where the coaching comes in, asking you the questions that get you to stop doing that.
Yeah. Yep. No, 100%. And again, a lot of this centers around when you're young.
Right.
If you don't start practicing this and understanding who you are and asking questions, a lot of it is we just blindly, like you say, accept what the guy or the girl in the suit on TV is saying. We just accept. Right. Oh yeah. But then you don't really ask the question, is this person really out for my best interest, or are they out for society's best interest? And oftentimes, 99.9% of the time, society always wants what's best for it. You need to be what's best for yourself.
Right.
And so when you can develop in these, have this questioning attitude, does that make sense? Where did you get this bias from? Why are you telling me you're biased? Why are you expecting me to come up with this bias? Really start questioning everything. That helps develop your frame, because you've done the research and realize, I don't agree with what my dad said. I don't agree with what my mom used to say. Whatever.
Right.
This is all part of, you have to self-educate yourself. Fuck, the colleges aren't going to do it. They'll educate you exactly how society wants you to be educated. You have to self-educate yourself. And society does not want strong, educated men. They do not want it. They don't want men to ask questions. This you can see it right now in real time. They want yes,
Right.
they want men. We're basically born and bred to work, pay taxes, and die. That's it.
Exactly.
That's what they want. You need to be different. Yeah, of course you got to be born. Of course you got to pay taxes. Of course you're going to die. But in that time, in that gap, it's your choice. Are you going to be having an excellent life, or are you just going to have a life that society tells you this is what you're worthy of? You're worthy of so much more. Guys just don't understand their own power because feminism and social media and all this crap tells them what their worth is. And then they believe what their worth is, and then they start developing what we call toxic masculinity traits. They don't even know what that is. They're like, oh, I guess I'm a toxic masculine. I don't know. No. You need to start questioning everything and everyone. And it starts with your parents. It starts with school. It starts with society. It starts with your friends. It starts with everybody. You need to start really questioning, why are you telling me this? Are you my friend or you're my enemy? More often than not, your friends are disguised as enemies.
Right.
They don't want you to succeed. They want you to be exactly where they are, because your success will always shine a spotlight on their failures.
Yes,
Always.
sir.
So it's up to you to be the most successful, dominating man you can be. And it starts obviously with your frame, but it starts with doing the work and really asking those hard questions like, why am I doing this? Why am I going to college? Why am I doing it? Because this is what the progression is. It's not a healthy. You're seeing it right now in the U.S. I love the United States, but we're in a downward spiral. We are not going to be a superpower very long living this way. It's not going to happen. We can't sustain the debt. We have less and less people coming into entering military service. We have less and less people actually having children. There's more people, and you can tell this by the per capita, there's more people buying diapers for the elderly than buying diapers for their kids. This is a sign. Japan and the U.S., it's a perfect sign of a declining empire because there's more people buying. A baby boomer turns 65 every 3.8 seconds. There's more people buying Depends than diapers right now in the U.S. We cannot sustain what we're doing. Cannot happen. So you better be well-rounded. You better be able to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, health, mentally. You better have different forms of income, because when the government crashes, and at some point it will, you better be able to take care of yourself, your wife, your children, your loved ones, because they're not going to be able to do it. And it's your frame. Everything that you built in your life is in this box, is in this frame. It sounds bad. It is bad.
You got to be the leader.
This is exactly where we're at in this world. Exactly. So the choice is up to you. I'm going to love whatever decision a guy wants to make, but if they're looking to help level up and looking to realize, you know what, I need help in this, you better book the full. It's a free call. I don't know what more you need. It's free.
Talk, yeah.
And then it's up to you to do the work. It's really up to you. And if you don't want to do the work, if you realize that most people, your opportunity cost, it's just too high, I don't want it bad enough, that's fine. I'm not going to complain and try to drag you into something you don't want to do. But I'm looking for those few men that will do everything they can for their girlfriend, wife, wherever they are. They're going to do everything they can for themselves so that the people around them feel safe. The people around them know, okay, this guy's got it. Whatever happens, this guy's got it.
100%. That's the thing too. It's not a sales call. It's not a sales call. It really is just a matter of, what do you need? What do you want to talk about? What do you have more questions around? Let's help you figure it out. That's really all it is. It's not a sales call. So don't be scared of it. We're not going to push you into anything. And so we're not going to push you in anything that we can't help you with. Obviously, if we can help you, we'll offer you something, but you don't have to take the offer. We're not going to push you into it.
Right. This is a good one today. Love it.
Yeah, no, this is great. I liked the one last week too, actually, talking about weak men. Like, obviously, weak men have no frame. So these two kind of work right along.
They both kind of leveled upon themselves. So it was a good. It's a good parody to come in from last week's to this one. So And we got a lot of traction on our shorts and stuff upon this. So there's people are looking at it and, they're starting to ask questions. So that's all we're asking is just start getting in that mindset of asking questions. Like something's not right. And you can feel it. If you're in the US, you can feel something is just not right. All of this, something is going on. And it's up to you to be able to take care of yourself in every way possible, because government's not going to be able to do it for very much longer. I promise you that. It's just not going to happen.
That's why I mentioned last week's call too. I think that a lot of you guys should go check that out if you haven't had a chance to already, because obviously the first step for a weak man is to build his frame, is to come up with what he thinks his identity is, what he thinks his value structure needs to be, because obviously I'm sure a lot of you guys don't feel right. Like a lot of you guys feel like there's something wrong. Yeah. And really it comes back to, strong men create good times. Yeah. And basically good times create weak men. Yeah. And weak men create hard times. Yeah. Hard times create strong men. And so that's really what we're moving into right now. We are weak men moving into hard times. We need to become strong men so that we can get this back to good times again.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate everyone watching it. We don't want to take up too much more of your time. We're a little bit over an hour, but want everybody to have an amazing weekend. Again, if you want to book the call, click the link below, go to our website, click the contact us now. We'll schedule that sometime next week or whenever you're available.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
We'll
have a great weekend.